Eden Kaz here with Just Be, and we are about to take a spiritual boom. We are at an unprecedented time in human history where we are transitioning from 3D to 5D within the great spiritual awakening. This video and audio podcast is the place for you to find your truth beyond politics, your sovereignty, your voice. Let's kick up your vibration now. By the way, each episode ends with the Just Be practice to do just that. P.S. Just to know a little bit more about me, I'm a psychological empath, meditation master, dimensional healer, all the things to help you within this ascension. To learn more about me, visit me at edenjustbe.com. And let's get this party started. Okay. And Ginny, I don't know what you've seen, but yeah, I always do some sort of getting ready.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Eden with Just Be. Spiritual boom. Hello, everybody. In association with Grassroots Warrior Network. Yay. All right. Ginny is here. Owner of the Sensitive Starseed School. I'll have you say hey in a second. We're going to get into that because today is her launch date for the Facebook page. Do I have that right?
For the group membership of the school. Yeah, this has been months in the works, and we are opening the doors today.
Okay. Wow. Okay. And we get to share that, which is awesome. And I'm going to go ahead and give a nod to our next guest. So I came across Ginny because I was doing a search on LinkedIn for Starseeds, and I met Jay. So she'll be on next week. She's out of Florida, but it's really interesting, the similarities essentially, and there are no mistakes in this. She is a golden oracle working with golden dolphins and golden whales. She is claircognizant, clairsentient, and clairaudient, and also, like Ginny, helping you discover your starseed mission. Okay, and it's so neat to have both of you ladies back to back. All right, Ginny, may I read your bio?
Yes. And
okay.
Hi, everybody. Hello.
Yes. Hello. Okay. Out of California, Ginny Lyran. Okay. In Ginny's early life, there were challenging health symptoms, which led to medications and surgeries. Okay. Given her high empathy, she was hypersensitive to others' emotions as well as substances. Okay, with conventional medicine, a lot of us have been there contributing to her declining health. One morning in 2013, she woke up and became committed to healing her body naturally. I want to hear more about that, and we'll talk about that. As vitality regained in her physicality through natural approaches, she became a functional health practitioner, linking the root of health issues with comprehensive wellness plans from sleep, nature deficiency, detox supplements. However, she noticed that her clients were plateauing, so she went deeper, studying delightful metaphysics, esoterica, bioenergetics, UFOs, ancient extraterrestrial theories, and quantum physics. After training in a variety of energy medicine modalities and divine muscle testing, she discovered that she was a starseed, and I want to hear about how that happened to you, and that her mission, let me read this very, very poignantly, and her mission is to help other starseeds turn their sensitivities into superpowers. And so simply put, I just fulfilled their soul mission. That's it. Oh, and what we talked about initially, she is now launching a dynamic online group membership program called Sensitive Starseed School, which provides courses, group presentations, in a community of like-minded individuals. So welcome you.
Thank you so much. You're read that
welcome.
very well. You made it a little more jazzy than the way I wrote it, so I appreciate that.
Well,
cool.
It is very jazzy. Okay, my first question typically is, how did you become connected to the Great Awakening? Yet this also might extend into the medical issues that you had. So however you want to approach that first question, go for it.
Yeah, well, you had mentioned that when we talked or emailed, and I was like, it wasn't, I talk about the epiphany of waking up to I'm done with conventional medicine. And that did happen, like bing, light bulb. But the spiritual awakening has really been, when I think about it, very gradual. Like my whole life has led up to this point. I was born in 1962. You know, I was a 60s baby. My parents were very young, total hippies, and there was no structure to our life, no religion or anything like that.
So were you
They
born in California as well? Like, have you
born in
been there? Okay.
California. Yeah, they were Bay Area people, and we had peace signs painted on the outside of our window. And at the time, I was embarrassed of my hippie parents, but they did allow me and my three sisters to explore ideas. And they told us about Christianity, but also about the Jewish religion and about Buddha and all these different things. So it was kind of cool that, you know, I was opened up to many different ideas. And they said, you'll decide when you're old enough what feels right to you. They were agnostic, really. So I had that background, and I kind of went through a phase in my 20s where I was kind of atheist. Like, I just thought you're gonna die and that's it. There's no soul. I didn't believe in any of that. But then it was one of my younger sisters had a health crisis, potentially fatal diagnosis, and she got into Abraham Hicks, you know, the law of attraction way back, you know, it was brand new. And that she didn't push it on me, but that just made sense. I'm like, yeah, there is something more. And there's this energy that we can call upon and set our intention and create our own reality. So we started really getting that. We listened to those Abraham Hicks tapes every week and went to go see her speak, and then got into any other channelings. You know, I just got opened up to that whole world. And I was always a fan of science fiction, like from being a little girl. I loved Star Trek. Mr. Spock was like my favorite. And so I always kind of felt that draw to space and good ETs. I really did not think there were negative extraterrestrials. I just thought it was all love and light.
Mhm.
But then at a certain point, I think when I was in my 30s, one of my sisters introduced me to David Icke.
No
Back
way.
when he was considered loony bin, you know.
Looney Tune. And I know he
Yeah,
used to talk about people spitting on him in the street. So
the
when
reptilians, and
was this, the 80s, 90s?
yeah, I think so.
Man, you were
But it was, you know,
way.
and I was very skeptical when she first told me, but as I listened to him, and he always, even though he came out like really stop being a slave, like he's real harsh, but he always comes back to, but we're experiencing this for a reason, for contrast, and it's so that we can choose love and light and ascension. That made sense too. So I've been following these kind of people for a while. But when I was super sick, I was bedridden for a little while. I was watching a ton of TV just because I couldn't do anything. And I got into Ancient Aliens on the History Channel.
Mhm.
And as hokey as it is sometimes, that whole concept of we've been lied to about the history of humanity, the history of the planet, the age of the planet, when civilization started. We've been influenced by what we called the gods, which were actually extraterrestrial, interdimensional beings. And that freaking made sense to me too. I'm like, yeah, of course. And
And
so it's just been this evolution. And then
okay.
as I was trying to heal, then I got into energy medicine because I was like, okay, what else can I do to feel better and better and better? And all those kinds of modalities lead you into everything is energy. You know, we can connect to source, we can connect to our guides, our star family, ET families, ask for help. And it just, everything just made sense. I was never like in shock, like, no, that can't be true. It all just like, of course, yeah. It's
Oh,
because,
that's great. Let's go to this next thing. Oh, that
yeah.
makes sense. Let's go to this next thing.
And don't you think, Eden, it's because we know this as the truth deep down inside? And so it's just like, oh, yeah, I'm just remembering what I already knew as a soul before I went through that veil of forgetfulness that we have to do, but we signed up for, especially starseeds. And now it's just, thank God for the internet, for people like you that are doing these shows. And there are so many cool people now that are teaching this. I can't even keep up. I'm just like, I could just spend my whole day listening to these kind of podcasts because it's just fascinating. I want to learn more. And everyone's got their own take or spin on it,
Yeah.
but I'm just trying to bring it all together and synthesize it, but stay discerning at the same time.
Yes, I love that word, discerning. Okay, a couple questions for you. You have four kids, correct?
I do. We have a blended family. So
Okay. Oh, do you
I
mind
was
talking about that
married.
for a second?
Yeah, married, 2 kids,
Okay.
got divorced, and then met my now husband. We've been together for 20 years. He had 2 daughters, so we brought together and became the Brady Bunch with 4.
Okay. When that bedridden instance, okay, I want to talk about some of your medical emergencies. Were you married to your first husband during this process, or where were you within
No,
your?
so this all happened. It started happening with my second husband. I think actually the home we were living in at the time, which was his family home, very old,
Mm,
had some mold in that one as well as the one we're in now that we had to remediate. His parents had a lot of health issues that now that I've studied
uh-oh.
toxic mold illness, I believe that was contributing to their issues. So it started probably in my late 40s, living there in that house with my second husband, working as a dental hygienist, which is a very toxic environment, and then trying to deal with 4 teenagers at the same time. A
Oh my
lot of
gosh.
emotional stress. And so all of that adds up, and the dam kind of broke, I would say, when I turned 50. It was not long after that, end of 2012, which when I talk to people, so many people had these dark night of the souls in 2012, whether it's emotional or physical
Mm.
or both. But yeah, I could not work anymore. I was just so sick.
So how, with your kids and everything, how did you handle it? And then working on these modalities, how did you do it all? Because that's a lot.
Yeah, it was challenging, and I tried to hide it quite a bit. I didn't want my kids to worry about me. My husband, as sympathetic as he was also like, "Are you sure?" Because I didn't look that sick. I had one of those kind of mystery illnesses where you look fairly decent, and so that's why I was doctor hopping from ologist to ologist to ologist, trying to get that. I was like, "Tell me I have cancer or something. Tell me
Yeah,
what
just
is wrong."
something.
Because I wanted to prove to my
Mhm.
family, to my husband, that I'm not lazy or crazy. I really have something wrong. But I didn't fit. And I went through all kinds of gross tests to try to
Oh
get it,
man.
and I believe that led to the downward spiral.
Oh,
Like things like drinking, I had to eat radioactive breakfast and drink this weird stuff so that they can watch it go down my stomach and see the glow, and
okay.
lots of x-rays, lots of MRIs. All that stuff is so toxic, so toxic.
Okay. And through that, nothing was discovered until I think you talked about mold being a big issue, and then breast implants. Okay. Those were the two biggies?
Right. So
Okay.
once I was done with conventional medicine, I moved on to
Yes.
functional, kind of integrative doctors that were more open-minded.
Mhm.
And that's what I see with a lot of my clients is you find somebody who really understands that you have dysfunction in your body, and then they give you a reason. You're like, yay, I knew there was something. But then you're still, unfortunately, a lot of times in victim mentality. Like, if you get into the whole genetics thing, oh, I have these mutations, these SNPs, they call them. So a lot of functional medicine doctors will look at all your genetic code and say, oh, you do not detoxify. Well, that's why you have chronic Lyme or mold illness or something. And then you've labeled yourself and you've convinced yourself, I'm weak, I have this vulnerability, I'm always going to have a problem, you know, I'm hypersensitive. So we've got to find that balance between recognizing, like if you recognize the way I do now, that I'm a sensitive starseed for a reason, which we can go into, but that I can fortify my energy field and my body by giving it what it needs. And then I don't have to be the victim and the sick, weak person.
So if you don't mind, talk, because it's really interesting. I've just had two clients that had their breast implants removed, and one was not having problems per se, but it was like, it's just time to get these out. And when they came out, they were just, like solid rock. So what did you go through? Do you mind? Because this is for women especially. I feel that this is really important. Do you mind
It is.
disclosing?
And for a couple of years, I was actually specializing in working with other women that had, you know, breast illness is now a recognized thing in the holistic world. So I found out from a girlfriend who was having hers removed and she had hers replaced. But she said, haven't you heard about this? I'm like, no, but it would help explain why I've had so many weird, just like horrible PMS, horrible periods, acne, headaches, horrible migraine headaches, fatigue, brain fog, you know, all these things have been adding up for years in my life. I'm like, oh, maybe it's the implants. So at that time, there were these breast implant illness forums. Like it was before Facebook groups and stuff.
Oh
Now there's
gosh.
tons of Facebook groups on this for women to get
Okay.
help. But so I started reading people's stories and they were identical to me. I'm like, oh my God, that's me.
Wow.
And they were having them removed, and you have to have them removed the right way. There's a right way and a wrong way. But I was reading, if you get it done by a really good skilled surgeon, you can get your health back. You have to do some detoxification,
Oh.
but you can regain your health. And so that was
Do you
amazing.
mind if I throw something in there? Because it was really interesting that you had the surgery in Ohio, which I'm in Ohio right now. So I will go ahead and put in there the same thing applies to getting amalgams out of your mouth. I got them removed by my normal dentist and was like, okay. I started having this weird pain here, and beautifully, just I was seeing a natural doctor, and I went in one day for something else, and I just brought up, oh, I'm having this weird pain. He's like, well, did you just have your, I don't know how, did you just have your amalgams taken out or any dentistry done? I was like, yeah. He's like, oh my goodness, let's do this. So what could have been dramatic, like it had just started beautifully. I went to him and it was all okay. So I'm assuming the same thing in terms of leakage toxicity, like someone who really understands what to remove, how to go about it is so important. Would you, well, it sounds like you agree with that.
Oh, it's so important. In fact, the doctor that I went to in Ohio,
Yeah.
her name is Lu Jean Feng. She's famous now in the breast implant
Oh,
surgery world.
okay.
She has all her patients see an ultrasound specialist before the day before the surgery. So I had to
Okay.
do this. And with ultrasound, he can see if you've had leakage, where the silicone has migrated in your body. And he takes a Sharpie pen and outlines it for the doctor. And so during the 5-hour surgery, she had to scrape out inside my chest all this silicone because
Oh
during a mammogram,
my gosh.
so if you have older silicone implants, and the FDA now even recognizes, took them a long time, and after 7 years, they say most implants are leaking. And if you have a mammogram, they squeeze you and they can pop it. And that's what happened to me.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And I'll tell you one thing, this might be
Yes.
controversial. I will never, ever
Okay.
have a mammogram again. They are not helpful at all.
Please be controversial. That is kind of what the show is all about, especially when we're talking about the Great Awakening and you know, David Icke and all of that is still controversial, yet not so much anymore. Well, when you got marked in terms of the silicone, were there a lot of marks on you that had to be like,
Yeah, so it only was actually broken, ruptured, they call it, on one side.
okay.
So on that side, he drew this huge circle that she had to make sure she did. The other one, and anytime you go to these kinds of explant surgeons, they will take pictures of your implants once they've removed them. And so you get to see. So the broken one, it was just a shell. There was like nothing left. The other one was intact, but
Uh-huh.
even the intact ones can get mold in them.
Oh my
They can
gosh.
create these capsules that just harbor all kinds of toxins and microbes. It's more than just silicone in those things. There's a lot of chemicals in implants. And even the saline ones have a silicone shell.
Oh my gracious. So did you feel it had been deflated for a while? Excuse my terminology if that's not correct. You know,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just touching
It
myself up
was
here.
interesting because I hadn't felt much until my friend told me. And I think I'd had the mammogram like a week before. And she told me about breast implant illness. And then I started looking up and I started reading about people having this rupture. And then I'm like, oh, do I feel something? Oh, yes. And I started getting this burning nerve pain. And then it started to change shape. And then I was like, oh God, it's actually ruptured.
What
So
was the healing like for you after you had the surgery? How did you feel?
it's for me, I think it was extra rough because you can have your implants placed above or below the muscle.
Mhm.
Below the muscle is a harder surgery, it's a harder recovery. So I had that. And I was older. I'd had them in my body for like 25 years.
Oh,
And I'm very thin naturally. And they had to take a lot of stuff out. And psychologically, because I didn't want to get new ones, it was traumatic. I'm like, what's my husband gonna think? You know, it was pretty hard, but my life was more important than physical appearance. So I was willing to do it.
what do you think about implants now?
I don't recommend them to anybody. There is fat transfer now that more women are doing. If you have some fat on your body, you can have it sucked out, liposuction, and injected.
Okay.
Um, I might do that someday if I feel like they've got it, perfected enough. Right now, when I go to the breast implant illness Facebook groups, there are still people that say you can get infection and
Oh,
stuff like
geez.
that. So I don't know if it's the best solution.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of women who have a little breast tissue left. They do a lift with
Mhm.
the surgery. And if you go to the Facebook groups, they'll show you their before and after picture, and they look beautiful and they're
Mhm.
just smaller.
Mhm.
And so it's just about, body acceptance, I think, which is a huge lesson for us.
And within that, very interesting now, because my one client that just got hers removed, not that it should be body acceptance regardless of what's going on in the world. Yet I had commented to her, like she had said, like smaller chests are coming in or whatever. And I think a week after she told me that, I was watching a TV show and this woman on there was flat chested and she had these shirts that were cut down. She was sexy as all get out. And it was so refreshing because we're so used to seeing big boobed women. And so I just looked at that and it was for me being a small chested woman, it was just wonderful. Not that it matters because I'm good anyway, but there's a part of me that's like, that's even better. Woo! Uh,
Yeah, I have to say that I've seen women that have confidence in themselves. That's the sexiest thing. I know some women that are like they have nothing, but they love their body. They're, wearing something sexy and they just like, and they're very appealing. So that's what it's really about.
Yeah, that is what it's about. And tell you also had, was it an emergency hysterectomy? Do I have that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Gosh.
So when I was toxic, and part of that, the huge mystery that I eventually discovered was I was highly, highly sensitive to wheat, not just gluten, but wheat, which I'd been eating my whole life thinking I'm fine, but over time, the reactions can get stronger and stronger the more toxic you get, and you just kind of lose your tolerance. But
Okay,
when
do
I
you
was,
mind gluten and wheat? Like, excuse me. What's the difference between those
what's the
two?
difference? Okay, so it's a big topic, which I know a lot about now because I had
I
to
bet you do.
study this, but a lot of people think that they're just sensitive to gluten only, and it's mostly associated with digestive symptoms. But the cutting edge research shows that it's the whole wheat plant that many of us have become sensitive to, not just the gluten part. There's another 25% of the plant that is a different type of protein, actually. And there's an amazing functional medicine lab called Vibrant Wellness Labs that can test your blood and see if you're making antibodies to any part of the wheat plant. Antibodies equal inflammation. Inflammation is kind of considered one of the root causes of all kinds of inflammatory diseases, right?
Mhm.
So because today's wheat has been extremely hybridized,
Mhm.
so it yields more high ratio of gluten than ever before, and they spray it with glyphosate, which some people say is the main reason, because you can go to Europe and have bread that doesn't have glyphosate because they don't have GMOs there, and you can be okay. Whereas you eat American bread and it's, it can be for some of us like almost like having a peanut allergy. Like if I had wheat right now, I'd probably end up at the ER.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when I was eating wheat and being exposed to mold and all the other toxins and emotional stress, I was growing all kinds of weird stuff. I grew this weird, what did they call it? A cyst here that they had to take out.
On your
And then
on your face, on the outside of your face, or in the inside
inside
of your
my
jaw?
face, they had to dig it out.
Oh.
But my fibroid, they were watching it and it was, slowly growing over time. And then all of a sudden
Oh.
it was one of the biggest fibroids. They had to bring in a second surgeon because my surgeon was just like, oh my God. But I was basically bleeding to death because huge clots were coming out.
Oh my gracious, Jenny.
And so they had to take the whole uterus. Yeah.
Man, you've
But you
been
know what?
through some things.
After I cleaned all this stuff up, learned about the whole wellness protocol, know what not to eat, what not to expose myself to, no medications, no drugs or alcohol. I take really good care of myself. I'm good. I don't grow stuff like that anymore. My skin is really good. I've got wrinkles, but I've got healthy skin. I've got energy. The brain fog's gone. It's just, and people are like, oh, you poor thing. You can't have pizza. You can't. I'm like, no, I don't feel sorry for myself at all. I'm so glad I figured it out and, have this great life. And I eat tons of great food. There's tons of healthy choices.
And even with pizza, there's cauliflower. Like there might be some wheat and some. I don't know though. I don't, because I don't eat a lot of gluten or wheat, but it's not. It just doesn't make me feel good. So
Right.
it's not. I would have to go to the ER. So I'm not 100. I don't have to be 100% careful. But yeah, I usually get pizza on cauliflower. And what was the other? Oh, what's it called? No, I keep thinking of microgreens, but it's not microgreens. Spelt. Well, I don't even know what spelt is. Do you know what spelt is? I'm assuming you do.
Yeah, it's usually not good for people that are sensitive to gluten and
Ah,
wheat.
There you
There's
go.
cross reactions with some of those grains, but
Interesting.
yeah, cauliflower with almond flour if you're not sensitive to almonds,
Okay.
things like that. There's cassava flour now. It's really actually pretty cool and liberating how many alternative
Oh.
flours there are for people that have these sensitivities.
Yeah, and once something hurts you that much to not have it anymore, totally okay. Like it's like, all
Yeah.
right, I'll
Yeah. I
bypass
mean,
that.
I don't miss it one bit. I look at it, I'm like, poison, poison.
All right, so why don't we use this to transition if this feels appropriate to you? How did you learn about being a star seed? How did that come to you?
Yeah. So I hadn't really heard that term as much as I was looking at spiritual stuff. I hadn't heard it until I enrolled in Dr. Karen Can's Tolpacan healing methodology that she created herself. And that was kind of a stepping stone from the first energy medicine stuff I learned was through Dr. Bradley Nelson, emotion code and body code. Have you heard of those?
Yes.
So I got trained in those, which involve basically learning how to do your own muscle testing. If you're in person with your client, you can do it to them by, what the chiropractors do. You can't see me because of my
But you hold your arm out and test,
yeah,
yeah.
and they press on it, right.
Mhm.
But you can do it to yourself in a variety of ways. Ring and ring is a good one. I use my arm and I push on my arm. So I learned how to do energy testing for myself and for my clients, doing emotion code, body code, and then just we can ask anything. You connect with source, you connect with their subconscious, and you can find out all kinds of stuff about why you're having the symptom, what remedy would be good for you, how much dosing, all that. It's really cool. So, anyways, yeah, I was doing that. And then I was in Nikki Sky's Ascension School, and she was teaching us pendulum divination. And she said, I got trained by Dr. Karen Can. And Dr. Karen Can wrote a book called Sensitivity is Your Superpower. So that's where I got that idea. Really great book. So I enrolled in her training
Okay,
and
give me a time frame. When about was this?
this was fairly recent, like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
Okay, because it's interesting too, like the word star seeds, it's suddenly, from my interpretation, kind of burst on the scene.
Okay. I wasn't sure if I was just clueless and people were
Oh,
talking and I hadn't heard it, but maybe it's just burst.
it's becoming wild, which it
Okay.
should, which is great. From my impression. All right,
Okay, so
proceed,
part of
please.
her program is you can learn how to do soul reports, soul readings for yourself and for people. And so there's, a whole questionnaire you go through with energy testing or pendulum, and you ask, is this person a star seed, which is basically someone whose soul has had lifetimes, usually many lifetimes, ancient old soul in different dimensions, different star systems, planets, and we volunteered to be on a mission to come be in a human body. We are fully human. I'm not an ET, but my soul has these connections and remembrances. And even though we agreed to the veil, and I think it was Debbie Solaris on your last show was saying more and more kids are coming in without the veil, which
Oh
is
my
great.
gosh, great. I
Yeah.
know.
So they're accelerated. But the first wave, the volunteers who came in earlier, we kind of had to have something that triggered us.
Yeah, are you a first wave?
I'm probably a first wave, born in 62, so I think
Okay.
I'm a first wave. Yeah. Um, but with Dr. Karen's soul report, I learned that I am an AT soul, a starseed, but here's what was really shocking. She said you can have more than one soul. I was like, what? I've
Wow.
never heard that. So she talked about there's a book by Ruth Renley called Your Multiple Souls. And so I read that. I was like, cool. So as I'm doing my energy testing on myself, I learned I have 3 souls in this one body. Okay. So then you figure out the percentages of each. So my number one, well, two are equal. So I've got the Lyran soul. That's why I go by Ginny Lyran now. There's 45% in this body, Lyran, and specifically the feline humanoid Lyrans is what I've had a lot of connection and lifetimes in. There are different kinds of Lyrans. So 45% is Pleiadian, which I always felt connection to Pleiadians and Lemuria and all that. And then 10%, yikes, turned out to be Draco Reptilian.
Because that's very odd.
I was like, what? No, this can't be true. So I went to Dr. Karen. I'm like, am I a bad person? What is this? Am I testing wrong? She goes, no, this is true. And it's really good because we can't lump all of one species ET race together as negative or positive, or that's not even a good term anymore. It's like constructive versus destructive or something I've heard. But there are a lot of reptilians that are positive, light oriented, or maybe they were more negative and they have pivoted and they want to help humanity. So apparently my 10% Draco has turned to the light, wants to help, and has some really great skills. And that's why it agreed to come into my life right in this lifetime.
And knowing what you know with that percentage, let me ask you, Jenny. So I wonderfully just took the Akashic Records Galactic class, and I knew about the Pleiadians and some and Arcturians, but it really part of the class was to go into galactic history. I had no idea about. I mean, it was just one of these, like my acceleration in the past year has just been bam, bam, bam. If you want to call it that. So for those who are listening who may not know what some of these star seeds and some of the constellations, would you have any recommendation in terms of, hey, just start YouTubing stuff? There's a great book about this. What would you recommend?
Yeah, so a woman I found fairly recently is, and I highly recommend it to you, Eden. It's so inspiring, encouraging,
That
uplifting.
sounds great.
She's French. Her name is Elena Danaan, Danaan. And she's got two recent books out. One was like 2021 and one just came out. The one that came out before is I'm gonna make sure I get it right. Something like Star Races.
Okay.
And I can send you the link so you can put it in the show notes or something.
Oh, that'd be great.
But
Thank you.
it's almost like an encyclopedia of all the different ET races. And her story is phenomenal, and we could talk about it for hours. But basically, she's a contactee. She had some traumatic thing as a kid, but she also has this amazing connection to these beings in the like Galactic Federation or something that saved her and are helping her now. And she's got all this, and she's got full memory of being on starships, all these races that they told her about, and she's an illustrator as well, so she can draw them, and so it's all in this book. She was an Egyptologist working on the pyramids. She's just and she's got YouTube channel. So that's her older book. The newest one is called Seeders, Seeders, Seeders.
Got it.
And just in the first chapter, it will blow your mind because she says there are all these crafts, ships surrounding our planet right now that are here to help us. And they've actually banished the negative ET faction from the planet. They are gone. All the reptilians and everything, the negative ones, they're gone. What we now, because they can't totally see us.
Chills all over.
I know. Okay. What we can now do is deal with the humans, or maybe some of them are, hybridized, that were influenced by the reptilians and are still running the show, even though it's kind of crumbling. we now have to save ourselves the rest of the way by not complying with these negative humans that want to keep us down. So that's our job now. They've taken care of the ET faction.
Okay, that's hugely fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that, Jenny, because I'm aware that you'll, even with my enlightenment or whatever you want to call it, that is increasing, and knowing that things are happening. There are a lot of things behind the scenes that are really great. That is so exciting.
Yeah, and I realize everyone's got their own take and story, and somebody might say, "Oh, she's got it wrong." So we all have to just tap in. I use my energy testing a lot. I'm like, source, is this true? She 100% love, light, and truth. I want to be discerning. And right now it feels right to me.
And for me, I get chills all over. So I'm like, okay, something about this is dead on.
Cool. Okay. Yeah.
That's very exciting. All right. And it is when you start to look at all of this. Like I remember the first time. So in Debbie's class, there were a lot of illustrations as well. When you see a praying mantis figure, like again, it's like, all the scenes out of Star Wars, that this stuff is real. And when you look at it initially, you're like, what? And then after a while, you're like, okay. It's so bizarre that you're, oh, okay. And this one looks like an ant, and this one looks like a
Right.
cat or a feline. Okay, well, and then you go, well, great. Well, and now it's just so exciting. And so, like, I'm sitting here
Yeah.
going, okay, I'm ready for,
I'm ready. I'm ready too. It's like, well, I probably would freak out, but it's like,
I don't think you would.
I really, I would like this. I feel like it's our timeline has been set, that we won this spiritual war, or whatever you want to call it. We are ascending. It's just a matter of time now.
Mhm.
And the faster we can spread this message and raise everyone's vibration, the faster we can bring it into our manifestation. Hopefully it's in our lifetime, Eden. I'd
I
like
think
to
so.
experience it
Yes,
here.
I definitely think so. And P and Cullen, who are my only regular guests on the show, they also talk about there's going to be potentially this great split right now, that those who are ready to ascend now, that it's going to happen, that everybody will get there, but the timeline is very different, and that it like things are really ramping up at this point. And I can already tell, I don't know about you, like so much of my life right now is 5D, because you can either choose to look at some of the horrific things that are going on and be in that, or to see it and to go, okay, this is just a part of the process. Yet part of my job, like yours, is to be balanced, to be the light, to be happy. Not that I'm happy all the time, but I'm pretty good. Just to keep carrying that. And when you do that too, you are there. It's like you're starting to see things in your life just blossoming. So it's like you're in 3D, 4D, and 5D all at the same time. It's just great. It's just great. What would you say to that? How is your life going right now?
Yeah, I agree. It's very exciting time to be alive. Like I said, it really was kind of what got me revitalized when I was feeling so bad, was just that there's more to life than the daily grind, and spirituality is cool, but knowing about the whole ET thing, and that there's been these secret space programs, and that, we do have this connection to our
Portals
star.
and stargates. I mean,
Yeah,
time
starboat.
travel,
Right.
all
Yep.
that is
Oh,
now.
I just wanted to mention something really cool. I'd heard this a few years ago, but I got it validated by this Elena. She says that Gene Roddenberry, creator of Star Trek, was given information from the I think it's called the Council of Nine, but she says that's actually the wrong terminology. But a lot of people call it the Council of Nine, which is like the ultimate archons after Source. When Source decided to split off and to experience itself, it created these nine energies. And so he was in some kind of group where someone was channeling these 9 energies, giving him information, knowing that it would influence the whole human culture to be exposed to these ideas about space travel and, you know, the Federation and different cultures coming together. And beam me up, Scotty.
Well, no wonder you were so attracted to it, or it felt so good.
Right,
And
right, familiar.
and tell me about this too, your feelings that the let's say the ascended masters or other species or whatever, they're just waiting to come into contact with us, because if they approached right now, there's still all this fear and negativity. And plus, there's been in the works a fake alien attack too. So all that's kind of out there. So just
Right.
waiting until the time is right, until the masses can basically go, okay, this is good. It's not hurtful. It's not what a lot of media has depicted. And there has been harmful stuff going on as well. Is that your impression also?
Is what my impression? I'm sorry.
That beings are kind of just waiting
Oh,
in the
waiting. Yeah,
wings to
yeah.
have contacts with the masses.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I think that's what makes sense to me. I hear different people's take on it, but it feels like it's this gradual kind of thing where you can start connecting through your meditation, you know, telepathically start to feel them.
Yes.
Some people will do Dolores Cannon's quantum hypnosis therapy type sessions where they can recall it.
Mm.
And then that kind of gives them more of a sense of, oh, that's what they look like. That's what their energy feels like, because they get to remember that. And then I had one of those, by the way, and
Mm.
found myself as a Pleiadian kind of a ambassador talking to ant people. It's crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
You would have thunk.
But so it's getting humans used to the idea and what they might look like and feel like
Mm.
in a gradual way, because the average person, you know, they just materialize in front of us, we'd probably have a heart attack or something as much as we want
Yes.
it.
Yeah. So I have to add into that too. So for me, it'll be nice when to see them face to face, but just what you said also, feeling the energy and feel like you can go ahead and have a connection. And it is like a reality. Like for me, um, they come, and yet it would be so nice for me to be able to reach out and go, oh, that's nice. So you can still have contact, yet it's not contact, but it's the same. Like it's not really different. Oh no. I wanted to ask you, I want to go into the Just Be practice in just a second. Is there anything else that you want to add or talk about before we go into that?
Yeah, I guess I just want to say
Oh, your school.
if
I
someone
just,
is what we call sensitive starseed. So, what I get when I really meditate and think about why like, I think most starseeds are extra sensitive compared to
Mhm.
the average human out there that's a little more oblivious to stuff. But there are some of us that are sensitive souls. And like I said, I don't think it's that we're broken or weak or have something wrong with us, but that it was an agreement to come in kind of like the canary in the coal mine and kind of be the barometer about things like 5G, because I'm sensitive to EMFs, toxic foods, toxic molds, you know, and the mold thing is due to stuff that we did to the planet. It's not a natural kind of mold, you know. So all these things, glyphosate, we are here to be the early warning system and know, oh, I don't feel good. Make the correlation. This is probably not good for me. And then be able to educate other people that maybe are being bombarded with toxins and toxic emotions, toxic news, it's slowly creating cancer or something in their body, but they don't know it because they don't have that awareness. So sensitive starseeds are here to feel it, let people know about it, and it doesn't have to be something that we suffer with to that degree. So there's ways, especially with Dr. Karen's Tolpacan, where you can ask source if it's okay for your highest and greatest good to turn down the intensity of that sensitivity, maybe not to a 0, but maybe down to a 1 or a 2, so that it's more comfortable. It's like, okay, I got that lesson. I don't need to be at a 10 to my cell phone anymore. Can
I
I
don't
turn
need
it
to be
just
like
down?
Jenny was. She went through
And
all that so she could help me. So thank you, honey.
right,
Mm,
I
right.
did that sacrifice, but I get it now. And so
Yep.
we can build up our energy field. We can take care of this beautiful vessel. The human body is a miracle. We can take really good care of it so that we do have the vitality, the resilience, the energy, the joy to enjoy this human life, because that's part of it. We're not just these sacrificial lambs or something. We came here for our growth too, and we can fulfill whatever mission we have, which for me, it's to help other sensitive star seeds.
And you had stated that this moving into this was a little bit out of your comfort zone. Can you talk about that for a second?
Um, Probably because I was used to one-on-one sessions with my clients. And I still have a lot of family members that don't know what I'm doing. Honestly, I'm slowly coming out of the closet.
Good for you.
It's like,
Oh,
yeah,
good
I'm
for
Ginny
you.
Lyran. I'm not using my, real first name because there will be quite a lot of judgment about it. And being a leader somewhat, of a whole group of people and being on video and stuff is a little scary for me. But for some reason, I'm just like driven to do it. I can't stop,
Yep.
even though so I sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? Is this totally crazy? But I just have to do it.
And I will say no. It's not totally crazy. And I know you know this, but let's just give you some support for a moment that all voices right now. I mean, that's one of the reasons that I'm doing this podcast. And I had done some other things before that, but it led me to this is, I've been ridiculed, been told I was a domestic terrorist. I've faced, even before all of this, that I was practicing that's potentially was with working with Satan, was an occult leader, because anytime you do anything alternative and part of that is that in our society that has purposely been negated or, oh, Western medicine, let's do this and let's pump you full of this and you're going to have to pay for this. So it is challenging. I feel you, yet it's impossible to stop. So those people that are negating you and looking at you oddly, let's put it that way, there are going to be so many people that are going to be looking at you wonderfully and thanking you, and maybe I can be one of the first ones of those, and I'm sure you have others, but yeah, so good for you. I will use this word, kick some ass, Jenny.
I'm ready. I'm
Because I'm
ready.
kicking it. You do it as well.
Yes,
Okay.
we'll kick it together.
All right. Are you ready to go into the practice? What do you have for us
Just
today?
be practice.
I am. So I've got my little bottle of cedar wood here. So I like to start meditations or even a quick morning routine of connecting to source, grounding, setting the intention, giving gratitude with an essential oil. I just love my essential oils. I've been doing it for years and years. But a tree, something from a tree, from the bark, like
Makes
cedar
sense.
wood, frankincense, spruce, are extra grounding. So I really like those. I just, if you get a good quality brand, you can actually put it on your skin neat, do the around the ears. There's a lot of acupressure points in there behind the ear, third eye, and then Whew, deep inhalation. Oh my God, it's just heaven. And then, and someone can do this kind of process in 10 seconds when they just get up if they want, or they can turn it into a whole, 15-minute meditation listening to music. But so it's connecting to source, grounding to Mother Earth, because we don't want to be, out there in la la land. We need to stay grounded. And then we can set an intention of what kind of day we want, or something we want to accomplish or do or feel or be. And then always give gratitude. You can give a gratitude for someone or something in your life, or gratitude in advance for what you're intending for. That's really powerful too. So you want to do that together?
Yes, please.
Okay. So having your feet flat on the ground is really nice if you can. Closing your eyes if that feels good. And then I like to bring in beautiful, bright light from above. Make it whatever color you want. I like white a lot, or platinum, but some people like gold. And you can imagine it coming in through the crown chakra, through your head. And just can imagine it kind of sliding down and melting and oozing all throughout your body, through every cell and every space between the cells, and it's gradually moving down the body, moving down the legs, and then it just comes out the bottom of your feet. And this energy from source is now going through the ground, through the soil, through all the layers of the planet, and working its way all the way down, down, down to the core, the very center of our Gaia, Mother Earth. And then to really connect, you can imagine that it's like a suction cup or a hook or something, or just kind of sinks in to that core. And so Mother Earth feels that connection to us, to source, and she's just so grateful that she's going to send us unconditional love, energy, back up through those same kind of roots that we sent to her. It's coming back up. You can make that be any color you want. And then you can have it tingling in your feet and then moving up through the legs. And it's actually kind of intertwining with the source energy, blending, mixing, moving all the way up to the head. And then it's going to come back together as this blended energy to land right in our heart chakra. Put your hand on your heart now if you want, and just feel that beautiful energy. So nourishing. And then let's set an intention for the rest of our day. I'm going to intend that I have a really nice connecting evening with my husband and our adult daughter who's living at home right now. And we can give gratitude in advance for whatever we're manifesting. And then I always like to say thank you, and so it is.
Okay, can you close us out, because I'm just feeling so good. That was great, Jenny. Thank you so much. And again, thank you so much for being on the show, for being you, because I've been doing this for a year and a half now, and meet a lot of people, a lot of different people, a lot of people who say certain things, and a lot of people who are what they say. You feel really good, and I wish you a whole bunch of success. Yay! All right. Anything else we need to talk about or do? Are we done?
We're done.
All
It was a
right.
great
Thank you
show. Thank
so
you.
much. Okay. And as I feel like I have to say this, even though we talked about this before, hang out just a moment. All right, everybody. See you, listen, talk to you, audio, video. See you later. So cool of you to be here. I went from being off most social media to being on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or True Social, and you might be watching this on YouTube, Rumble, or BitChute. Or you might be listening to this on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I'm on over 19 directories at this point. So connect, comment, subscribe, like. Oh, and my intention is to have a new episode out Wednesday of each week. Oh, Lordy, more to come.